Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going deep on shared housing today.
Shared housing.
Yeah, we've got this really interesting article from Shelter Force magazine, and they're highlighting all these amazing programs
That are doing shared housing.
Yeah, they're all over the U.S.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all the details of those, but
Okay.
before we do that, why don't we just take a minute to make sure we're all on the same page about what we're talking about when we say shared housing?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about shared housing in this context,
Yeah.
we're talking about two or more unrelated adults who are sharing a home and they're splitting costs like rent and utilities and using common areas together.
Like living together.
Exactly.
But not a family.
Not a family.
Not related.
Unrelated.
Got it.
Okay, so that's important because shared housing, it's not like a group home or anything like that.
Right.
It's really about creating these sort of intentional communities where people are choosing to live together.
Yeah.
And another really important point is that we're talking about permanent housing.
Okay.
So this isn't some kind of temporary fix.
Not transitional housing or anything.
Exactly. This is about long-term stability.
Okay, got it.
And everybody gets their own bedroom.
Oh, okay, so it's not.
It's not a bunk bed situation.
Yeah, no, I was thinking maybe it was like college,
Yeah. No, we're not talking about college dorms.
Okay, cool.
We're talking about people who are looking to create a stable home.
Gotcha.
And this approach is really important now more than ever, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because rent is so high.
Oh my gosh, it's so high.
In so many places.
I know, it's crazy.
And more people are struggling to find housing.
Absolutely.
And the outlook for low-income families is...
I mean, it's pretty bleak, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
Yeah.
But shared housing has some really powerful benefits that I think make it a really promising solution.
Like what?
Well, first of all, splitting those costs can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially in those expensive cities we were just talking about.
Especially there, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it way more accessible.
It does.
Yeah.
It really opens doors.
For sure.
That would otherwise be closed for people.
Yeah.
And then there's the social aspect.
Oh, yeah?
You know, a lot of people who are coming out of homelessness, they experience a lot of loneliness and isolation.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially older adults.
Yeah. They're particularly vulnerable.
But shared housing can help address that by creating this sense of community.
Yeah, like a built-in support system right there in the house.
Exactly.
It's more than just like a roof over your head, right?
Exactly.
It's about feeling connected to other people.
Right. And that feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
Really is.
So, okay, so we've talked about the why.
The why.
Now let's get into the how.
How?
How are organizations actually making this work?
Yeah, good question.
Because it sounds great in theory, but in practice.
In practice.
How is it actually happening?
Right.
Well, this article highlights some really cool examples.
Okay.
And one that really stood out to me was Micah in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay.
And what I thought was really interesting about their approach is that they really focus on client choice.
Client choice.
Yeah.
Even for folks who have experienced long-term homelessness.
Yeah, like even the most vulnerable people they're working with.
That's really interesting.
They're saying you deserve to have a say.
Wow.
In your living situation.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to say no to a potential roommate.
Yeah.
Because their lifestyle just doesn't mesh with yours.
Yeah, you don't want to live with somebody who's,
Right. Totally different.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Micah empowers clients to make those choices.
Wow.
And they do it through these really interesting deal breaker discussions.
Deal breaker discussions.
Yeah, so they get potential housemates together and they talk about things like what?
Chores.
Chores, okay.
Noise level.
Noise levels, all right.
Guest policies.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All the things that could cause conflict.
Exactly, and they do it up front.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Get it all out in the open.
So that everybody's on the same page from the beginning.
Right, because otherwise you're just setting people up to...
Yeah, for failure.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it really seems to work for them.
So it's about compatibility.
It is.
Like relationship compatibility, but for...
Roommates.
Roommates.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and for Micah, they're really guided by these two questions in everything they do.
What are the questions?
Does this increase client choice?
Okay.
And does it promote self-determination?
Self-determination.
Yeah, they're really focused on...
Empowering people.
Empowering people, yeah, giving them that sense of agency.
Right.
And that control over their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of success, another program that really impressed me was Columbus House in New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
And one of the things that really stood out to me about them is that they have this incredible network of over 600 landlords.
600 landlords.
600 landlords.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot
Yeah.
who work with them and trust their program.
That's incredible.
It is.
How did they build that kind of network?
It's a testament to their track record.
Okay.
You know, they've really proven themselves to be reliable partners.
Yes.
And landlords want to know.
Of course.
That if they're working with an organization, that organization is responsible and supportive.
Absolutely.
And that's what Columbus House does.
Yeah.
And they have a really unique approach to conflict resolution.
What do they do?
It's very client-centered.
Client-centered?
Yeah. So if there's an issue, they're there to support both a tenant and the landlord.
Okay. So they're not taking sides. They're trying to find solutions that work for everyone.
Yeah, and they're not just stopping at housing.
Oh, really?
They also connect tenants with employment specialists to help them find jobs.
That's great.
Yeah, so they're really looking at that bigger picture.
It's holistic.
It is.
Yeah.
Recognizing that housing is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
All right, let's head over to the West Coast now.
Okay.
We're going to Oakland, California, to talk about Bay Area Community Services, or BACS.
BACS.
They have placed over 2,000 people in shared housing arrangements since 2018.
2,000 people.
2,000 people.
Wow.
And get this.
What?
Their return to homelessness rate is under 12%.
12%? That's amazing.
And incredible.
Most programs really struggle to get anywhere near that.
I know.
That's really impressive.
And one of the things that's really interesting about BACS is that they prioritize honoring existing relationships.
Existing relationships.
Yeah, so they recognize that people experiencing homelessness often form really strong bonds with each other.
Of course, yeah.
And so if people want to, they can choose to live with folks that they already know and trust.
That's really smart.
It is.
Yeah.
Because those relationships can be so valuable.
It can.
During that transition out of homelessness.
Absolutely.
And it seems like a lot of these successful programs are really recognizing that human element.
Yeah, the human element.
Yeah, like understanding those individual needs and really tailoring their services to meet those needs.
And BACS is doing that too, right?
Yeah, and one of the things they're doing that's really interesting is that they use this framework called the SAM-HSA 8 Dimensions of Wellness.
SAM-HSA.
Yeah, SAM-HSA.
What is that?
So SAM-HSA stands for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Okay.
And their 8 Dimensions of Wellness framework really emphasizes emotional, financial, intellectual, occupational, physical, social, spiritual, and environmental well-being.
So it's a really holistic framework.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very holistic.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah. And so BACS uses that to guide their work with their clients.
That's great.
Yeah.
So they're really looking at the whole person.
Exactly. They're not just checking boxes.
Right.
They're really invested in helping people build fulfilling lives.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump back over to the East Coast.
Back to the East Coast.
We're going to Philadelphia
to
talk about Self Inc.
Self Inc.
They're doing some really innovative work with shared housing.
Okay.
Specifically for people with behavioral health issues.
That's an important population to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that's really interesting about Self Inc. is that they have this really collaborative approach.
Okay.
They work with all these different city agencies to create a really supportive system for their clients.
So they're like weaving together all these different resources?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're creating a safety net.
To catch people.
Yeah. And it seems to be working.
How so?
91% of their clients were still housed after 6 months.
91%? That's amazing.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And they do a couple of things that I think are really key to their success.
Like what?
One is that they really prioritize fostering a compassionate culture within the organization.
Okay.
So they want to make sure that their staff are trained and supported.
Makes sense.
To provide that really high quality care.
Yeah.
And they have regular meetings with all the stakeholders involved. So they're making sure everybody's on the same page.
So important.
And they prioritize ongoing staff training.
Okay.
To make sure that their team has the skills and knowledge that they need to provide excellent support.
They're really investing in their staff.
They are.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
It is.
Okay. Last but not least, we've got the Road Home in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
And they're doing something really cool. they're not just implementing shared housing within their own organization. They're actually training other housing authorities on how to support this model.
That's awesome.
So they're really trying to scale up the impact.
Yeah, spread the word.
Yeah.
That good.
And they're working with the Shared Housing Institute to do this. So it's a really great collaboration.
Yeah.
And they're really trying to push for system-wide change.
That's what we need.
It is. Yeah. We can't just have these little pockets of success.
Right.
We need to see this happening on a larger scale.
Absolutely.
So we've seen some incredible programs achieving some amazing results.
Really inspiring stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
But what's the underlying principle?
Ooh, good question.
That connects all these success stories.
Yeah, what's the secret sauce?
What is the secret sauce?
Right.
Well, it all comes back to those 3 basic human needs.
What are those?
Autonomy.
Okay.
Competence. And relatedness.
Relatedness.
Yeah, remember how we talked about self-determination earlier?
Yeah.
Well, this is where it all comes together.
What's that?
There's a psychological theory called self-determination theory.
Okay.
And it suggests that we all as humans have these 3 basic psychological needs.
Okay.
We need to feel autonomous.
So like in control of our own lives.
Exactly.
Okay.
We need to feel competent.
Like capable.
Like we can do things.
Yeah.
We can handle things.
Okay.
And we need to feel connected to other people. We need that sense of belonging.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you think about these programs that we've been talking about, it's clear that they're addressing all 3 of those needs.
Yeah. How so?
Well, shared housing, when done right, gives people the power to make choices
about their living situation.
Exactly. And that supports their autonomy.
Yeah, okay.
It gives them opportunities to develop skills and manage their own households. Right.
And that builds competence.
Okay.
And it creates that built-in community.
Right.
Which fulfills that need for relatedness.
That's really powerful. It's amazing to see how these programs are really tapping into those fundamental needs to create positive and lasting change.
It's not just about housing.
It's not just about housing. It's about well-being.
It's about empowerment.
Yeah.
It's about well-being.
It's about seeing people as whole individuals.
Exactly.
Not just as clients or
problems to be solved.
Right.
Right? They're seeing them as people with strengths and with potential.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
It is.
So with all these great programs and the potential for real impact, what's next?
That is the question.
What's the next step in this journey?
Right.
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We are actually at a really unique moment in time.
How so?
Where we have an unprecedented opportunity.
Oh, wow.
To expand shared housing.
Really? Yeah.
Why is that?
Because there are significant federal funding sources available right now that could make a huge difference.
What kind of funding are we talking about?
So there are programs like the Emergency Solutions Grants Program, or ESG.
ESG.
And that provides funding for a range of services to people experiencing homelessness, including things like rapid rehousing and homelessness prevention.
Okay.
There's the Housing Choice Voucher Program,
right,
which helps low-income families afford housing in the private market. And then there's a whole bunch of other programs out there that could potentially be used to support shared housing.
So there's a lot of potential here.
There is a lot of potential.
Yeah.
This is not just a good idea.
Right.
This is a good idea with funding.
With the potential to actually make it happen.
Exactly. And that's why this deep dive is so important, because we need to be aware of these opportunities.
Absolutely.
And advocate for them to be used.
In our communities.
Yes, in our communities.
Yeah.
Shared housing could be a total game changer.
For sure. In the fight against homelessness and social isolation.
Absolutely.
And now's the time.
Yeah.
To make it happen.
We got to seize this moment.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've got the inspiration. We've got the potential funding.
But how do we actually make this happen?
Yeah. What are the nuts and bolts?
Right. What are the specifics?
Yeah. How do these programs actually work?
What makes them tick?
And what can we learn from them?
And how do we apply that in our own communities?
Exactly. Those are the questions we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
Me too.